us through what the problem is here. I recognize that a lot of people use that state and local tax deduction. In fact, when you look at California, which is the largest user of it, 6 million Californians use that deduction. What's the story in New York? How much will an average New Yorker's tax go up without that deduction?
You know, we're still trying to compute that, but they're definitely going to go up. I would say the average homeowner could have an increase of over $1,000, maybe more than that, $2,000, $3,000. Again, it's difficult to fully compute it right now, but there's no doubt there will be increases. And believe me, I more than as much as anyone wanted to vote for across-the-board tax cuts. I believed in the Kemp Roth tax cuts. I believed in John Kennedy's tax cuts. I believe the Bush tax cuts of the early 2000s. They work, but not at the expense of a whole region of the country. And that's what's happening here. I mean, in New York, in my district alone, I think 48% of the people itemize. And many of the homes, even though they're modest homes and the salaries are not that high, you could have people paying $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 in combined property and state income taxes. And obviously there's homes that are higher than that. So individuals get hurt,
right,
but also the entire state is going to be hurt as far as revenue.
Is there any reason to believe that, Congressman, as much as this hurts and you are going to see your constituency higher taxes,
right,
since they can't use that deduction anymore, is there any reason to believe that this is actually the right thing to do because these high tax states hide behind the fact that they could use that deduction? I mean, look at New Jersey. The new state legislator comes in. The first thing, by the way, is the first thing Mr. Murphy said when he won governor of New Jersey is, I'm going to get going on my higher taxes. I'm going to raise taxes on the millionaires. We're going to get that millionaire tax going. And yet, after the news of the tax plan hits, the state legislature, the New Jersey Senate President Steve Sweeney says, we're going to have to reevaluate everything. If a federal bill repealing the state and local tax deduction becomes law, I'm just saying that what's happening in Washington is concerning the hell out of me, he says. So in other words, what I'm saying is over time, maybe the elimination of this deduction will get these governors and these assembly people to say, you know what, I've got to cut taxes on a state level because they're sky high and they hide behind the federal government.
Yeah, but it's not exactly like that. Listen, I agree that Murphy coming in New Jersey, that would have been guilty of excess there. We've also gone through 8 years with Chris Christie where he did try to put some controls on spending. The fact is there's always going to be higher taxation in states like New York and New Jersey because of the fact that we get shortchanged on federal revenues. We've gone over this before, but New York gets $48 billion less from the federal government than it pays in revenues. Other states get twice as much, almost twice as much back as they put in. So we have to make that up somehow. If we could get that $48 billion back in New York, that would make it a lot easier for us to reduce the revenues or to reduce the, the tax rates.
Right.
So, I mean, that's all part in there. What I'm saying is treat us all equally. And I don't think that it benefits the entire country when you have one whole region of the country, in effect, having a redistribution of wealth away from it.
Yeah. No, I think you make a lot of good points, Congressman. I know what you're talking about, living in New York, by the way. Let me ask you this. Do you expect the Senate bill to look very different than the House bill? Because Susan Collins said, look, I think we should leave that deduction in there. What do you think stays? What do you think goes when senators come back this upcoming week?
Yeah, I would hope, first of all, I have a great regard for Senator Collins. I'm glad she's brought this up because in some ways she's a lonely voice on the Republican side on this issue in the Senate. But again, she has said that she believes a way can be found to do it, maybe a slight adjustment in the corporate tax rate. But again, I think the problem here was right from the start, they saw this large amount they could take, and that was going to finance the tax cut. I mean, they're talking about, they can go up to 1.5 trillion, and 1.3 trillion they claim is coming from SALT. I mean, to me, it was like too easy a target. And it's also from states that, let's face it, do not have that many Republicans in them.
Yeah.
So it was sort of, the money was there, and there's not that many votes to worry about anyway. So I think that was part of the thinking. But if Senator Collins, her vote's going to be essential for them to get to 50. Right. They will probably have to get Senator Collins. And I just hope she can hold out, and I'll be happy to work with her on it.
Let's talk about the impact. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, the elimination of that deduction stays in the final work that goes to the president's desk. Are you expecting mobility in New York and New Jersey and California? In other words, a lot of people are predicting we're going to see an exodus of people leave high tax states. Why would you pay, for example, what is it, 57% when you look at state and local at 17% and the highest earners at almost 40%? 57% income tax. Why are you going to pay that when you know you can go to Florida and pay nothing? So are you going to see an exodus of people that is going to depress real estate prices? That's going to mean, taking money away from education. So what do you think? Impact?
Yeah, there's already been some of that, but no, I've spoken to a number of people, a number of business people. I guess they call themselves the 183 Club, in that they will make sure they're out of the state, they move out of the state, so they won't have to pay the income tax. And this is, again, it was already developing, but it's going to, I think, I can see a mass exodus coming. The whole week I've been home since this vote was cast, I've been hearing from rank and file Trump voters, people who own their homes, people who are really hard-working wage earners. But I'm also hearing it from the business community, big people in the business community who feel this is going to terribly impact them. And yeah, they are talking about moving their address with North Carolina, Florida, wherever.
Wow.
They feel that it's something that has to be done to this. And that then will have a compounding effect, because there'll be less state revenues available. That means local governments will have to raise property taxes. It's really a vicious cycle. And again, it's going to be a massive tax cut for the country, but it's going to be a big hit on one whole region of the country. I think it's bad. A tax cut should be a tax cut for everyone, across the board.